I'm going to have Dylan's going to come up because he's going to share some of his story. He's a guy I've been running alongside. He's our youth pastor, Dilan Oglesby. I've been able to run alongside him these last 3-4 years since he's come up here from Georgia, and which is pretty awesome that he's up here with us. And he's one who is fixing his eyes on Christ, who's seeking to run with perseverance. You want this? The race that's marked out with him, to throw off sin and throw off the weights. And I'll quit talking because you're up here. And so let's just listen a little bit to Dylan.
Hey guys. So my wife gave me coffee this morning, so I was supposed to speak for 8 minutes. So if I speak for 3, that's why. Just a little hyper. So I guess I want to go back like 2 years briefly for a second, and like my journey with kind of this throwing off what hinders me. That's kind of where it started. I think the first thing we had to really address was this false self that was there, this projection that I've got it all together, that I'm actually good at managing time, that I'm a good teacher, that I'm all of these things. And like, first of all, like that had to go away in order for me to be open to receive, like to get help, to change, to feel lasting life change that comes from Christ. And so like, whether that is literally saying, actually, I suck at time management. Actually, I'm not very organized, and I'm usually late to things, right, Dave? Yeah. And so that's been that first step of taking off the stuff that hinders me. And so like, I want us to imagine like, we're going to draw a picture in your minds together. Or if you have your paper, I guess you could do it. With your left hand, draw a little box house, box house, triangle on top with your left hand. And then look at that, and you're like, oh, that's cool. It's not very straight. And then do it with your right hand. And same thing with your right hand. You can draw a sun if you want to, and some grass or whatever with both, and just see the difference. When you put them side by side, you're like, yeah, that's a house, and you can tell what it is. But man, this one's a lot clearer, and it was a lot easier to do. And actually, people are going to recognize the difference between the left-handed drawing and the right-handed drawing. And so that's kind of what it's like when we're living so cluttered and hindered by even things that aren't inherently sinful. Yes, sin, but like just clutter in our lives. Ben mentioned some of those things that I'll mention more in a minute. But as we're writing with our left hands, living that way, it's not fullness. It's not healthy, always, because you can tell a difference between that and living unhindered and without these things holding us back. So like what I felt God saying is that like, hey, we're gonna like draw you out of something that's not inherently evil, but that it's not the best for you, like Ben said, it's not best, and we're gonna put you into something, a way of right-handed living. And so for me, I'm not sure I ever had experienced right-handed living, like without being just kind of pushed down and clogged by all the stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about what I've removed and what's taken place of that. And so don't think this is an exhaustive list, that this is the things Tallgrass doesn't want people to use, or they want people to get rid of this and they want people to take on this. That's not what this is. This is what's hindered me and what's helped me. So some of the things is social media. Like some of it is tempting and some of it is just like time consuming. Like I would get in bed and turn on social media and scroll and then look down, it's 4 a.m. and I gotta be at work at 7, and like that's not good. Or like it produces anxiety, and then you sit there and you worry all day about these things. And so for me, like it just so cluttered me down, and I mean, like from taking me to like, oh gosh, I'm anxious, to now I'm isolating from my fellow Christians, from my fellow brothers, and like this is not good. Like this has got to go for the time, like not permanently, but this has got to be removed. Other things such as like my Xbox had to go. Like I was spending way too much time in it, way too much time doing something that's fun and good, but it's also like some of these other things I'm going to mention, they're way better and way more freeing. So like Ben said, you warm up for a race, right? And you do your stretches and you do all that kind of stuff. And like, that's how you get ready to then do the race. So like for me, this summer, warming up, like in place of those things, it's looked like swimming or kayaking. Even like at the beginning of COVID, I started redoing a deck, and then got into woodworking, and later I found that like actually woodworking is one of those warm-up things, because you're trying to make things fit together. You're trying to make things symmetrical. You're trying to wrap your brain around, how can I make this thing that's just a rectangle into something really beautiful? And that sort of like stretches and like your mind and your brain, in order to be able to take in some of the other things that we've been experiencing, or that I've been experiencing. And so it's almost like a warm up for the race. And like other things include doing sound, learning how to do something new, learning a new instrument, that kind of stuff. Just really something that's fun, something that's simple, but something that actually stretches your mind. And then that has kind of warmed up. I didn't even know that was a thing until after we had been like doing woodworking for like all summer. But like some of the other things that we put on that have been really helpful for me, Tallgrass calls it a tog. I call it a sword drill, just some different verbiage. Basically just getting in Scripture and seeing what God's saying, how does it apply, and then taking action steps toward what is actually, how does it apply? Well, this is how it applies, and I'm going to do that. A daily check-in with like emotional, spiritual, mental, relational health, like to go, okay, I was worried today, and then that caused me to then speed up my work, and then that caused me to start isolating, and then that led me to what kind of sin? All kind of sin. And then you've got this other stuff of like getting inherently involved with men or women that can encourage you and invest in your life, like Ben was talking about. Just that has been such a great help for me, to just know that if I start to stray or if I disappear for a few days, somebody's going to come asking, hey, are you okay? What's up? The Pray As You Go app, it is weird. That is the weirdest app in the world, but it's so fun. I love it. I have really invested time into the Pray As You Go app, so find a good app that you can walk through with that stuff. So one of Tallgrass members was telling me about one of their teenagers and how they've turned 18 and they're just wanting to break free from all of the rules and regulations. And one of the things he said was restriction equals freedom. And I was like, whoa, that's it. That's what I've been experiencing here, is that all of these boundaries that we've set in place for my life, actually, I'm not experiencing oppression from them. Like, it's like freeing. Like, I have time to invest in things in my wife and people. I mean, like peace, real peace. And like for me, change, I love Christ, and I love the fact that I'm saved, and I love the fact that like I will one day be perfect like him. But like I was never very hopeful that lasting change can happen now, that we can experience real change. But at the same time, like with this restriction or boundaries and stuff, like I'm experiencing God change things in my heart, and like I'm extremely hopeful. So for me, restriction doesn't just equal freedom; it equals hope. And so like these boundaries in place that we're talking about. And so I guess for me, like God is literally uncluttering my heart, so that like all that's left is like the unshakable essentials, like His love and His peace and His joy. And yeah, that's my story. It's still in the middle of it, and we're still tweaking things and experimenting. And I guess in conclusion, like when we try to worship God, like we're never going to get it right, because like look how beautiful and amazing He is. But He's still like, wow, like you tried, you attempted this race, and I'm going to cheer you on, like that, or like Ben was saying. So yeah.
Thanks, Dylan. Hey, yeah, love it. That's great. Couple things. We call it TOG. TOG is time alone with God, so Pray As You Go app is super weird. I'm glad that Dylan loves it. If Dylan can get into it, maybe you can as well.